Alright guys, I had a request to do a video on beginner tarantulas. Um, I'm not really an expert on all kinds of different types of tarantulas or anything, but I'm going to put an annotation somewhere right now that is a link to arachnoboards.com. In my opinion, there's also like a tarantula board, I don't know. Arachnoboards, in my opinion, is one of the best forums for tarantulas. Um, you can look on there for stuff. You can ask questions if you want, and there's just hundreds of people to answer your questions. I would first recommend using the search engine to try to find what you're looking for. People tend to get irritated when people are asking the same things over and over. Like in this case, just go to the search engine, type in best beginner tarantulas, and there you'll have it. I will kind of show you out of my collection what I think are the best beginner tarantulas. Here we go. Obviously, the G. rosea, which I have a little sling here. I don't have an adult. It is kind of the ultimate beginner's tarantula. It's not necessarily the best one, but they're readily available everywhere. They're cheap. For the most part, they're fairly docile. Not always, but a good bit of the time, and they don't have potent venom. Really easy to care for. I'm not really going to go into specific care about any of these just because there's a bunch of them and it would take forever. So yeah. Also, I would say if you're going to get into tarantulas, start trying to learn the scientific names. In the tarantula community, I guess you'd say, people are kind of more into using their scientific names. It's because there's so many different kinds of tarantulas. It gets really fuzzy when you're trying to use common names. So if you can try to learn the scientific names, it'll help out a lot when you're trying to learn about them. But a lot of the Grammosola, if you look up the genus, a lot of them are good beginner tarantulas, not just the rosea. The next one, and the one that I think is my personal favorite beginner tarantula, is the pink toe, or scientifically it's Aviculera aviculera. You'll hear people refer to them as Avic avix. And there's actually a bunch of different Aviculeras that are good beginners. Aviculera versicolor, Aviculera metallica. Those just cost a tiny bit more. That's why the Avic avic is one of the best. But it's generally a really docile tarantula. It's arboreal, so it's going to be out a good bit of the time. You can see, I wish I had my flashlight. I keep losing it. It looks black there, but they actually have some of the best colors of any tarantulas. I think, in my opinion, it's my favorite beginner's tarantula by far. And even advanced keepers love keeping Avix. I mean, it's something that's easy, but they're a very rewarding type of tarantula. If you want to go for a bigger tarantula, you could do something like the salmon pink bird eater. I would probably not recommend it as your first. I mean, a lot of tarantulas, though, if you are really going to study it and do it right, there's nothing wrong with getting a more advanced tarantula as your first one if you know what you're doing, especially if you've kind of been in the reptile hobby maybe, so you understand how to set stuff up. If you make sure and do everything right, you'll be fine. But this is a good beginner. This one almost gets as big as the Goliath bird eater. Oh yeah, the scientific name is Lapradora parahabana. I probably butchered that a little bit, and I will keep butchering it because I'm just not good at it. But they get really big. They're not too aggressive. They are a bit of hair kickers. They kick urticating hairs that can make you itch, but overall they're one of the best larger tarantulas. Green bottle blues are actually a really good hardy tarantula. A little bit more aggressive, a little bit more expensive, but a good tarantula that really is kept fairly dry, so it's easier to keep than some of these tarantulas. I cannot stress the importance, no matter what you get, to research, and keep it as best you can. This back here, my OBT, they are kind of a beginner tarantula. They're a beginner tarantula because they're super hardy. It's actually hard to kill them. They stay well in a lot of different types of environments. The only reason it wouldn't be, I actually have a care sheet on this one on my page if you would like to look it up, but they are extremely aggressive, fairly fast. So, if you definitely don't need to plan on touching it or handling it. I wouldn't advise it. I mean, people have. So, and then the ones that you're going to want to avoid. Obviously, any kind of Poquithera. I don't know all the ones you need to avoid, but Pokies their venom's very potent. They're very fast and skittish. Avoid those. One of the biggest ones that people love to get would be the Hypopelma lividum, the cobalt blue. It's a beautiful tarantula. You'll see pictures. It's really blue, so people love to get them. But they actually have a very bad bite, very nasty bite, and also they have these little holes that they go in and hardly ever come out. So I really wouldn't recommend one of those for a beginner. And then probably for a beginner, you're going to want to get a more established tarantula, at least a few inches. You're not going to want to get a little 1/4 inch sling as your first one, because they are very fragile and die very easy, and oftentimes die even if you're taking care of them properly. So that's not really what you want to start out with. You want to start out with at least a good probably 3-inch specimen, depending on what kind of tarantula you're getting, or an adult. You want to get a female if you can, because females will live up to, depending on the species, 10 to probably 20. I know a guy that's got a rose hair that's over 20 years old, but a male will die within a few years. So you want to get a female if you can. Yeah, that's kind of all I really know to tell you. The main thing I can tell you to do is go to Arachno Boards, search online, and figure out there's tons of stuff on Arachno Boards for beginner tarantulas, tons. And they have a classified section with great prices from real breeders. You don't want to go to a pet store like a Petco and buy a tarantula. It's going to be kept poorly. You might have to pay a time. If you have a reptile store, they're good places to go get tarantulas and things like that. Go to a reptile store if they actually know what they're talking about. But other than that, I would try to order them offline. Mainly, just go to Arachno Boards and look at the classified. They have great deals. You might pay a little bit more, especially the tarantula is actually cheaper, but you have to pay for shipping. But it's well worth it in the long run. You're going to get a tarantula that's been taken care of by a breeder or somebody in the hobby that knows what they're doing. Anyway, yeah, I just talked for 7 minutes. Kind of confusing myself. I don't know what else to talk about. Yeah, any other questions, feel free to ask me. If you need help looking around on Arachno Boards, I can try to send some links. Actually, if I have time to do it, I'll go ahead and put a link to an Arachno Board page in the description, so check that out. Anyway, yeah, take it easy, and as always, guys, I've been getting a lot of requests. I'm trying to do them as fast as I can. I still have to do a Panther Chameleon one, and I don't know if I'll be able to get to that today. But send me in your requests, and as soon as I can, I'll try to get it done. Alright, guys, take it easy.